I've gone on record many times saying how much I like the Americans and how much of a fan I am of the USA. I've also said before that one of the cleverest things which the Americans do is that every summer they get some of their most stupid, obnoxious and arrogant people, stick them on a plane to Europe, and then we have to put up with them for a few weeks. And although 9 out of 10 American tourists are really lovely people, there is still this stereotype of the fat, lazy, stupid, arrogant, opinionated moron. And last week we met one of them. My wife and I, Mrs. Disgruntled, were in Florence, Italy, waiting to fly to Amsterdam, and we were at the point of the process where we'd had our boarding cards scanned and we were on that weird bus they send over at airports that don't have any seats on them that take you to the aircraft. And a couple got on. Well, a couple waddled on, screaming at each other, and it turned out that's just the volume that these two people can burst. A husband and wife arguing about which airline they're flying with. Now, the husband, he was extremely stupid, although it transpired he would have to be married to this fucking woman. And he was there going, "We're flying with Delta. I bet you a chunk of cheese." And I don't get that reference. I don't gamble. And if I did, I doubt I'd be using dairy products as currency. But his wife was screaming that they were flying with KLM, and she was right. And to be honest, there were a few subtle hints that the flight was with KLM, such as the boarding pass had KLM written on it, and the tag for the hand luggage that had KLM, and we'd all checked in through a KLM desk through staff who were all wearing KLM uniforms. But eventually this guy noticed the massive blue aircraft with KLM written on the tail fin in fucking 15-foot letters. So he went quiet, and unfortunately this then let his wife start talking. And she began, "Let me tell you, flights on this for business class are $320. $320. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Let me tell you, I wouldn't pay $320 for these flights. Do you hear me?" And every single sentence began with "let me tell you" and finished "do you hear me?" And I guess it was for her husband, who may have been deaf, either because his hearing's just been worn out from years of this woman screaming down his fucking lug hole, or maybe he just woke up one day, got a Black & Decker cordless drill and took his eardrums out to try and stop the noise. Like that bloke in Scanners who drilled a hole in his fucking head. Anyway, she continues, "Let me tell you, this airport is tiny. It's nowhere near as big as Rome. Do you hear me?" And she's got a point. I've been to Rome airport as well, and it is much bigger because Rome's what's known as a capital city, and it has more people, so it needs to be a bigger airport. But by this point, this constant "do you hear me" comment was really starting to fucking grate on me, because I was thinking, yes, he can hear you. I can hear you. Everyone on this fucking bus can hear you. Everyone in Tuscany can hear you. If there's a fucking avalanche in the Swiss Alps, it's probably because of your fucking voice, love. And then the inevitable happens. As you know, you're on the standy-uppy bus and it drives 50 yards and stops. And now, fat tourist woman starts losing it. She's like, "Oh my God, let me tell you, this is so stupid, so stupid. Do you hear me? Why do they do this? Do you hear me?" Now, first off, if you use the word stupid rather than stupid, you are in no position to comment on anyone else's intelligence. And we all know the reason the buses only ever drive 50 yards. We could walk it, but it's due to health and safety. And it's due to health and safety because of women like this. Because I guarantee, if they trusted her to walk along the runway, she'd manage to get sucked through a fucking jet engine, probably with a bit of a push from her husband, and it would be highly amusing. But bear in mind, we're flying KLM, and they can't get a fucking plane away on time without a fat tourist wedged into an engine. And thankfully, when we got off the bus, my wife and I went to the front of the plane, and this American couple went to the back. I thought, thank God, I'm not going to have to listen to them for the flight. So we got on and we took our seats. And within 5 minutes, I could hear her coming up the fucking plane. And she's there with this massive case, which is way too big for normal carry-on luggage. And I assume what's happened is the ground staff have spent 30 seconds speaking to her and gone, "Fuck it, let cabin crew deal with this." And she comes along the plane and goes, "Do you hear me?" Screaming at some unfortunate stewardess. Goes, "Hey, my bag's too big for the overhead. Store it out front," and just dumps it in the fucking aisle on the plane. and turns away. There's no please, no thank you, nothing. And as she walks away, I think it dawned on her that she'd been extremely fucking rude in front of a plane load of people. So without turning around, she went, grazie, which of course is Italian for thank you. But by now, we're all on a KLM plane, which is Royal Dutch Airlines. The stewardess who she's insulted is a 6 foot fucking blonde woman who couldn't be more Dutch if she was wearing clogs and smoking a fucking joint. Anyway, thankfully they stayed at the back of the plane, and it turned out this was the plane where they lost our luggage. So it was delayed, and the only silver lining to the whole sorry debacle was that their connection flight to America was delayed as well. So it wasn't delayed, they missed the connection. So the KLM ground staff would have had to put up with that fucking raging harpy for a few hours. That's part one of my holiday. Maybe at some point I'll start talking about Italy.